When last we left our intrepid adventurers, what was the last thing? Oh yeah, we had just finished saving the world part 1 of 3. 2 or something like that. We killed Aurora's brother. Right. And in the process, when he died, it sort of ripped a bunch of cracks in time. And then Aurora's soul, and the end of all things' souls, sort of fluttered off and seeped off through these cracks in time. So we had to get out of there because we were making the cracks in time worse just by being present. Apparently, our party is now a walking disaster area as far as time is concerned.
There's too much paradox, and there's a huge amount of paradox there. And time is cracking. You can see the cracks.
Yeah.
Things don't quite line up in some spots. It's breaking.
So we left. We're like, okay, we've done all we can here. The cracks are spreading. Let's get out of here before they spread too far, and we have to fix it. So yeah, we sort of went to regroup and figure out what to do next. And we figure our next, even before the thing that's about to happen happened, we figured that the end of all things is still our number 1 priority. It got away, it's now loose again. We have to go and kill it again. And now we have to figure out how to kill it because Alinar's plan was stupid and didn't work. So we don't have a plan. We have to come up with one. And then we all died.
Kalinar's plan? Wasn't that Cricket's plan?
No, Kalinar originally hired our party to try.
Right, but Kalinar doesn't no longer exist.
Oh yeah.
So really it's Cricket's plan.
Kalinar ceased to exist, so Cricket had, I guess you could say it's Cricket's plan, except it was a stupid plan, which turned out not to work.
Well, you actually never got a chance to check if it worked because Aurora was killed before.
Right.
No, they were all killed at the same moment.
Yeah.
So.
Well, I mean, we did wind up putting the end of all things into Aurora's head with the end of all things, and it didn't eat itself.
That's true. You're right. Yeah.
So Kalinar's basic plan of it'll eat itself didn't work.
Now there's just 2 of them.
Then our party's backup plan was, well, now they're cycling endlessly through this time loop, accumulating copies of themselves, but as long as they don't get out of the time loop, safely contained. But then Aurora's brother went and screwed that up by drawing off copies of them on every loop, and now there's like dozens of copies of the end of all things. I assume they've all coalesced together into one super end of all things.
He absorbed them all. So you.
Yeah, but he was absorbing them over and over again.
Yeah, so it was absorbing them over and over again. But now that it's all broken, it's just like there's just one coming in and one going out. So it's not looping anymore, good. Right? So there's just one end of all things that leaked somewhere in time, and one Aurora, or maybe 2 copies. Because there was it's just one. Our final, just one Aurora leaking. Okay. So basically, they both just appeared somewhere randomly in time.
Okay, that's a little better than I feared. Then I was expecting that now the end of all things was this uber giant tentacled end of all things, and somewhere there was an Aurora that was a giant uber tentacled Aurora with 80 eyes or something. But yeah, okay. She could ask an entire town about their grandmothers simultaneously. Horrifying.
So does this mean that time duplicates don't work?
Time duplicates work on a local scale. Because we've done that. We had that fight with Aurora's brother, and there were multiple copies of the party present, and there were multiple copies of Aurora's brother present.
But that's also why time is so badly cracked.
Yeah.
It's not the only reason, but
we can do it.
It really cracked. It made a mess.
Yeah. So it's kind of a last resorty thing. Try to do things once, basically. Even though you can do it multiple times. So anyway, the end of all things got away, we got to track it down. And so just as we start thinking about tracking it down, the whole party dies.
What?
Well, we start flickering because we got killed sometime in our personal history. So we got 30 days to try and figure out, because the meta time delay is about 30 days. Turns out
that's actually part of why they're breaking time, because they're just creating paradox everywhere they go because they shouldn't exist, which was previously that's happened to 1 or 2 of them before, but now it's all of them, and also they happen to be right next to a really cracked up place, so they're like
Chernobyl.
They're like a hammer everywhere they go, and mostly they're hitting concrete, so it's not too bad, but they were just hammering next to a big pile of broken up crap.
So we do a bit of arcana-ing to try and figure out when did we get killed, and it turns out it is right at the beginning of the campaign, when we got dropped down the chasm. and it turns out we take a look at where the end of all things went, and it was supposed to go to a point in time 3 months in the future relative to our baseline at the city of Freeport.
Right.
But it didn't go there. Something intercepted it and bounced it over to the beginning of the campaign. So we figure, okay, our first level party of adventurers had the end of all things dumped on their heads. And it killed them, obviously, because... I don't know, I think we should play that out. I think we could have taken it.
At least could have run away.
Yeah, maybe Hanley would have made the difference.
I believe it's aura. It has a 10 square aura that does more damage than a first level character has in hit points.
So we just have to use ranged weapons against it. Anyway. So something at Freeport 3 months in the future redirected the end of all things. And we're like, obviously it's time mages. They have the means, motive, and opportunity. It's totally time mages. So we gotta think what to do. We gotta stop ourselves from being killed, and we gotta kill the end of all things. And we don't know how to kill the end of all things. Stopping ourselves from being killed turns out to be a fairly straightforward process. We just have to redirect the end of all things so that it doesn't wind up there, it winds up somewhere else.
To wreck somebody else.
Yes, we have developed a theory of how to manufacture, we call them timey-wimey, which are a method of redirecting something that has gone through time to a new location. Just put it, yeah.
So essentially what you're going to do is you're going to murder a whole bunch of people.
We hadn't got to that point
because
yet.
you're going to redirect it, and it's going to land on somebody else.
Not necessarily.
Yeah, there was some talk of like, well, let's kill the time mages who redirected it from Freeport.
And then
but Freeport is like a nice city, so they'd have to fight it there.
Yeah, they were like, but Freeport has lots of people, and I was like, well, for the moment.
Right. So your time pleans are actually going to be relatively accurate.
Yes, we can target a time pleen fairly accurately. It depends on our Arcana check, of course.
Right.
And yeah, we're learning this from the time mages because they use the time pleen to put the end of all things on our heads. So now we're going to have to build another one.
Right.
We may actually, I don't know, have we actually figured out how to do it, or do we just figure that it is possible?
I said it's scientific and she figured it out.
Okay, so we don't need to go to Freeport to study how the time mages did it.
No.
Okay, so anyway, so we can do that. And then the other thing we have to figure out is how to kill it. Because just stabbing it doesn't work. Even though we've got Eudotavium, which is a vital ingredient that Kalinar's party needed to collect in order to be able to stab the end of all things to death, because otherwise when you stab it, your weapon disappears. Because it ends all things, right? Yeah. So anyway, we could stab it to death, but then we'll just be doing the same that Kalinar's party did. Kalinar's idea about having it eat itself doesn't work.
Yeah, they can stab it, but the problem is when you kill it, it can just consume another soul. I guess kind of.
Yeah.
And so it'll just basically consume someone else and then return it with full hit points.
Yeah.
And it can just do that.
We briefly considered a murder-suicide if we kill it and the whole party dies at the same time.
It's kind of it's making me think of like the Archdemon Grey Warden.
Yeah, yeah. Then it won't have anything to jump into. But obviously we don't like that very much. It would probably be very difficult to pull off. And what if it does jump into something else? Then we can't have a do-over. So
why don't you get like who are the Institute people?
The Spellblades?
Yeah.
Get it
subcontract?
Yeah. That seems like it's right
the world for us.
Well, I mean, that seems like it's right up their alley.
We're kind of operating above their level at this point. They don't know how to use a lot of these bones of the earth because they just like destroying them whenever they possibly can.
And that is kind of true. That was kind of Kalinar's attitude too. That's why he stole the Panadar, because he didn't believe the Spellblades, they would just like do nothing and fail. So he's like, this is for the greater good.
Yeah. Because if you can't kill it, at least they'd have a place to put it.
Yeah. Well, we did come up with some ideas. When we were fighting Aurora's brother, was that when this happened? No. Who did I permanently timeless.
That was when you were fighting the brother the first time.
Yes, that's right, the first time, because I did it next to the time hole. Yeah.
Time was already getting cracked up.
Yeah, time was busted, and then I went and used Timeless Trek in Mithrende on someone, and it magnified it and made it uber. turned it into an area effect, and one of the guys I hit, or the prime guy I hit, got permanently timeless trekked in Mithrendane. And we have established that Mithrendane, the place you get timeless trek to, is the place where things that don't exist are. And so I just made something not exist. And we figure that's probably where the end of all things came from in the first place. So if I can permanently timeless trek it, I'm just sending it back where it came from, and that should work.
I mentioned that Mithrendane turns out to be a lost Elvish word for void, but most people can't speak Old Elvish, but they figured that out.
Yeah. Still, that seems too easy. Just gonna walk up to the end of all things and timeless trek it. It's not even a thing I have to hit with. It's a effect. I did
talk about this, and that it wouldn't just automatically work. But if you wounded it down to where it was almost dead,
exactly,
then you could timeless trek it.
You need to
and get rid of it forever.
Fight the boss monster the traditional way, and then once its health bar is blinking red, you do the cinematic and win.
Right.
So it's still a couple of steps away, but we have a thing. But then we're thinking, okay, getting back to the saving the party from dying thing, we're going to use the time lean to put the end of all things somewhere and somewhere else. What would be a good place to put it? We're thinking, well, we could send it to Allenway because they're used to suffering. But at no point was Allenway ever destroyed by a voracious void monster. So that's out. And then, who was it that suggested? I think it was Gerard.
I think so, yeah.
Gerard suggested that we send it to moments before the Oodpocalypse. The Oodpocalypse destroyed all spellcasting entities. And with a little research, we realized that the end of all things would have been affected by that. And so either it would destroy it, or it would badly hurt it, like the obelisk got badly hurt, though we don't really know much about that in character. So yeah, that's our current plan, is we're going to redirect the end of all things from our first level party selves over to the Oodpocalypse, and then if it gets outright destroyed, hooray. If not, it'll be badly injured, and we'll fight it, and I will timeless trek it, and that will solve it, finally. Problem is, we're checking the map, the time map, that lets us know where we can find holes, and there are no routes that go back before the Oodpocalypse. The only time we were able to do it was using that sigil thing. And the sigil thing, it had a sliding window thing, and now it's gone past the Oodpocalypse. So we can't get back to the Oodpocalypse. But we need to get back to the Oodpocalypse because we want to send the end of all things there. So we're going to study the sigils. Apparently that is a promising path of exploration. Study the sigils. So we got to go to the sigils. They're in Allenway. Last we saw, Allenway was overrun by Warforged massacring everyone in our name. So we're like, if we wear hats, can we go there? But there's still Warforged everywhere. So we're like, okay, let's go some other time. Let's pick one of the other apocalypses that destroyed Allenway, and go there right afterwards, so it's all nice and peaceful. There's no one around. We can study the sigils to our heart's content. So we're looking through the menu of apocalypses that Allenway has suffered from. Which one would be the best one to be in the aftermath of? Like, okay, there's the zombie apocalypse. Not so good. There's the time it was inundated by lava. No, it's not so good. The time it was destroyed by lightning storms. The time it was destroyed by lightning lava.
Yeah, they were warded against lightning and lava, but not both.
Yeah. None of these are really good. But then we realized, okay, there was a time that Allenway got driven over by another city.
The Dwarven city on treads.
Yeah, it drove over Allenway. And we're like, okay, after that's done...
It was almost just like as an afterthought in world building, too.
Yeah.
But
it's like, oh yeah, and it drives over...
It's because Ferret, who I don't remember Ferret, but he was part of world building, and he wanted the elves to be cursed or like whatever. And so he said, if you do anything bad to the elves, you get to do it with it's -2 on how many points it takes or whatever it was, right? And so then people were always just like, oh, I've got a couple points left. Oh, the city drives over the elves. That's how Allenway got to be so horrible, or so.
So yeah, we figured that's probably the best time to visit Allenway. It'll be all smashed and destroyed, and there won't be a lot of people there. But once the city has driven over it and gone on, it's gone. Well, it's not like the dwarves stuck around, which is good because dwarves are awful. Anyway, So we head to that time and place.
But because each apocalypse is just, there's tons and tons of crack points. You can go there, but they're all basically, it's hard to differentiate, and they seem to be like right at the moment of, rather than like a month afterwards, or whatever, which would be ideal. So they end up going there basically right before it happens, which would be fine because the temple clearly wasn't run over because it was still intact. So
yeah. So we went to the temple with the time travel sigil, and we appear in the time travel sigil. This is where we're targeting. We arrive there. Poof, we appear, and there's a whole bunch of elves setting up candles and such a ritual stuff around the sigil, and we poof appear in the middle of it.
yeah, and they just look up and their mouths fall open.
And then Gerard jumps in to save the day with his wonderful diplomacy.
Ah, welcome! You summoned us from afar. And he puts the moves on. Oh, what was her name? Lady something.
Yeah.
The Spellblade lady who's in charge.
Yeah.
He's quite dashing, and she just like is eating it up, but it's not helping their whole incognito.
Yeah.
Plan.
I think we have to promptly draw a Jenga block on that or something.
Yeah. By the end, you end up drawing I think 2 Jenga blocks from it.
Yeah.
Oh, and the Jenga's replenishing slower because things have gotten so messed up with time. So they're only recovering 1 Jenga every 2 days now.
So I have to scramble to try and re-diplomatize and fix this. And I make up a new tale, or a block to fix this. I make up a new tale about how, oh no, just please ignore Gerard, he's an idiot. We're actually fellow Spellblades that we heard that we were going to do this experiment with this sigil. Because as it turns out, the secret of Alan Way, I don't know if you recall, the reason for all those apocalypses is because of those time travel sigils. Whenever someone tries to use one of those without the Panadon to protect them, time will arrange for something to happen that stops them so that history is not altered. That usually involves destroying Alan Way. Apparently that's the easiest thing for time to do. So yeah, these guys were setting up to do some kind of experiment with the sigil that would result in them time traveling, and therefore time was about to have the city run over by a dwarven city in order to stop them. So yeah, it turns out they're Spellblades. They're here to do some sort of research. So I spun a bluff about how we're fellow Spellblades and we came to observe and BS. It was tricky, but I rolled really high. Way better than the story I could come up with as Brian. Imagine good lie here.
They were kind of confused about this for a second, but then lady, I can't remember her name, said, okay, well, help us, or you, no, that's fine, you can observe.
Yep.
I just have to go get some supplies. You guys, two are like helpers, you guys keep setting up. They didn't want her to go off by herself because they were suspicious of what she might do. So Gerard said, oh, I'll come with you. And she said, she was just like totally charmed.
That's a great idea.
So she was like, okay.
Yeah. And Cricket was like, Gerard, don't have any babies with her. We'll disrupt the timelines.
I don't think they had any babies, but they did spend a fair amount of time making out in an alcove somewhere.
Yeah.
Whereupon she then said, no, I really need to go. I'll go the rest of the way on my own. You head back to camp. So she did. And then came back a while later.
Because it turns out she was just going to go get some supplies. Probably. Or she betrayed us all or something. We haven't figured out exactly what's going on yet.
Edelmira, that's her name. Lady Edelmira. So that's right, because she said my name is Lady Edelmira, but that's just a Spellblade title. It's not because I'm married to a lord. I'm actually not married at all or anything.
So they start getting set up to do their ritual, which will presumably allow them to travel in time, which time is about to stop. And we start hearing this rumbling in the distance. It sounds suspiciously like a giant city full of dwarves on treads.
And some crunching, and then some screaming.
And this is where I made a mistake.
I don't think you could have known it was a mistake.
The thing is, time was trying to stop them from doing this ritual, and it was sending the treaded city to do that. And so what I did is I told them, you guys keep on working. We'll go and up the tower and have a look out and see what that rumbling is. In actual history, it turns out what they did was they did that. They stopped the ritual and went and had a look. We told them to keep going, or I told them to keep going, because I figured they're supposed to do this. Turns out, no, that's pretty bad, because that means that the dwarven city kept driving straight towards the tower. Because time was using it to stop, and previously it had done that just by distracting them. So yeah, once we realized that that was what was going on, I had to run down and say, holy crap, get out of here, there's a dwarven city driving towards the tower. And that interrupted the ritual. However, I think it was at this point, the rest of the party stayed up at the top of the tower, because there's another sigil up there, and Serendipity, it's got her new name. Serendipity, Ben Goldstrider Malor, Toppler of Towers, Shepherd of Souls, Striders of Time, Doom Delayer, Salvation of Children, Star-Lord.
I still think she should have gone with Starkiller.
Yeah. She went with Star-Lord. So anyway, they stayed up at the top of the tower, continuing to study the sigil to try and figure out how to send the end of all things to the apocalypse. So I went down and told those guys to evacuate, at which point they stopped their ritual and the dwarven city veered away. Good. But then Lady Elmira, what did she do? She seemed sort of like to concentrate for a moment, like
the wheels were turning, she was thinking about it, and then she said, okay everyone, Plan P.
Plan P.
And then they drew their weapons and attacked the party.
Cricket. They attacked Cricket. Because Cricket was the only one there. Plan P. Never heard of this. We don't know what's up with that. I assume it's short for Panadar, because I guess everyone else knows we've got it and they're doing this, so, yeah.
That's where we left it.
Yeah, so we don't know what Plan P is, except that it involves punching Cricket, so I don't approve.
It does start with a P.
Yeah. Now, unfortunately, these elves are of a level comparable to mine, so they would be a threat, they'd be a challenge for the party, and Cricket's on her own.
Maybe they're actually time mages.
Oh, I think we sort of did insights and whatever to try and find out what they were, and the result was Spellblade. I guess it could be time mages impersonating Spellblades.
If they're a comparable level, then
yeah,
they could have a bluff just as high as yours.
If Gerard was on the ball, maybe he could have snipped a little hair while she was very distracted by something.
Yeah.
But Gerard wasn't on the balls. So. But anyway.
Well, he was just on a different ball.
Suffice to say, next session is going to start with Cricket soloing these guys. I just want to get away, so it shouldn't be that difficult, I don't think. As long as I survive the first round, and I'm not pinned down with some DS ability, I think I should be able to escape fairly easily. We'll see how it goes. But yeah, we just need to study the sigil for a little bit. And that's where it ended.
Nice. Things are getting confusing.
The plan to destroy the end of all things seems fairly straightforward. I'm sure that there's going to be some difficulty when we set up the time paline. There's probably going to be something that attacks us and tries to stop us there. Friggin' time mages.
But what happens if you send it right before the apocalypse and it eats the things that cause the apocalypse?
We won't send it near there in physical proximity.
Right.
We'll send it out in the middle of the desert or something. Oh no, we don't want to do that because the obelisk is out there.
Is there an ocean?
There's oceans. I don't know. As long as it's somewhere in the world when the apocalypse happens, it should get hit. It doesn't have to be nearby anything. And it won't necessarily know what I mean, I bet you that this poor end of all things has no idea what's going on with all this stuff. It's just trying to destroy all existence, and all these weird things keep happening to it.
Because it's not intelligent, right?
It winds up stuck in some star's head, and then it's looping in time, and now there's more of them.
It's eaten by a different star. Now it's bouncing around time.
Yep.
It just appears in this dungeon. It's like, oh, at least there's some things here to kill.
Because it's not intelligent. It's just a beast, right?
I actually have no idea. I suspect not, but it could be that it doesn't need to be intelligent because it's so powerful and it's just trying to do one thing. I don't know.
It just is.
Yeah.
I don't want to answer the question because the party doesn't know.
Yeah. I mean, the time mages are intelligent.
Yeah. But what possible reason could they have for trying to end the world? Like, I don't understand.
They don't like existence.
They were summoned from the void. They think that existence is suffering. They see themselves as great heroes by ending all existence.
So they're actually void creatures as well. They're not just like dudes.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're from the place of things that don't exist.
Okay, so that makes more sense.
And they see themselves as saving the world by ending it.
Okay, that makes more sense. They're essentially evil creatures. Totally okay to kill.
Evil from our perspective.
Well, evil from the prime material plane perspective.
We have a very complicated argument about what is evil in our party.
Well, that's because Cricket's basically evil. She's basically a spy drone for the Nazis.
Cricket believes she is good.
Well, sure, so did Himmler.
Anyway, she's not a spy drone anymore. And she readily agrees that that was not cool.
But not because that in and of itself was wrong. Because it was a violation of her owner's
Yes,
rights.
exactly.
Right.
Yeah. I mean, Serendipity's a gnome. They've got their particular twist on things. You know, they're all into...
Next Monday to
They've got
slaves?
they've got actual slavery. They do not pain slavery. They don't know how to do that. I don't tell them either because I bet they'd go for it.
Actual slavery, like
Yeah,
they go places and net people and whip them until they pick cotton.
Yep.
Oh, they're pretty fucking terrible.
Just the Ponin.
Ponin are people.
They're the intelligent little horses. They're the My Little Ponies.
John I should make this very clear.
They
I didn't add them in world building.
They keep little ponies
John
as
did.
slaves.
John
They
added.
call them My Little Ponies.
Well, that seems
No, they don't.
entirely reasonable.
Anyway.
So obviously gnomes are good.
They would never keep humanoid slaves, but they justify it because it's just a horse.
Can it talk?
Yeah, it's totally like human
Yeah.
intelligence, but they
Okay. Well, that's
I mean, not all gnomes do it, but some of them
Yeah,
definitely do.
and Cricket is very adamant that is slavery and therefore an abomination and evil and should not be permitted.
that's like 15% evil.
Meanwhile, the Oblin are single-mindedly focused on closing the rift, regardless
chaos pours out.
regardless of the potential economic benefits that the rift may provide in the future. Yeah, everyone's got their own little twist on things.
God damn it. It's stressful listening to you talk about these things.
I think that Aram Ben Jarad and that Spellblade are engaged in a mating ritual. We studied these. If he's not careful, she's gonna start laying eggs. Or was that birds? No, I think it's turtles. It was a long time ago, and they never really expected us to get that far. I hope he's careful. At any rate, I'd better keep my armor up.
This is an oddly familiar situation. Not the specifics, of course. I don't think we've ever been hundreds of years in the past with a city rolling over the city that we're in it, etc. You know the situation we're in. No, the familiarity is trying to keep it all together. Like herding cats. They're just exploding everywhere. Well, let's see how this goes. What's the worst that could happen? Allenway be destroyed?
Oh, I'm really beginning to enjoy time travel.
I'm really beginning to hate time travel.
I'm going to add Gerard to the list of people not to do the talking for us. Croesus, Aurora, Gerard.